right now. And like was said a moment ago, we used to do this as parents all the time for a variety of vaccinations. We've got to shake people at this point and say, come on now. We tried voluntary. We could not have been more kind and compassionate as a country. Free testing everywhere you turn, incentives, friendly, warm embrace. The voluntary phase is over. We can keep doing those things. I'm not saying shut it down. I'm saying voluntary alone doesn't work. It's time for mandates.
Yep, that right there is a crazy, deranged man who can't even run a city that is saying that he should have dominion over your body and what you should do with it. And in the context of history, that's one of the worst ideas you could ever have. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski of WeAreChange.org. Very strong words by the mayor of a city that people are fleeing more than any other city in the United States because of his failed leadership. His words are being met by actions by the governor and the president of the United States, which have just issued shocking mandates, which we're going to be talking about in this video, plus a lot more. A lot of very strange data sets out there. Lots of bewildering information. We're going to get into it, plus a lot more. But before that, let's talk about some local news, as of course, people in cities are being robbed and carjacked in record numbers. Assaults on women are dramatically going up after the failed policies by Bill de Blasio, which are being met by policy proposals by U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who very strangely is doing the bidding of the big banks by telling people they shouldn't invest in Bitcoin, and is calling for tighter regulations, tighter government control over the decentralized financial system that has enriched more poor and middle-class people than any other technology in recent history. Literally, there's not a technology that has uplifted more people from poverty than Bitcoin. But for Elizabeth Warren, this is problem number one, with her desperately trying to end this new and emerging technology that is changing the way that we live. And it's not just Elizabeth Warren that wants to take things away from you. It's also criminals who are doing the same thing in major American cities, as even politicians who have proposed laws and decrees that created this situation that are being affected by it. As of course, we have the latest news that California Governor Gavin Newsom's own business was burglarized and smashed for the fourth time this year. And unlike many businesses, the police officers actually responded here. This, of course, is a big privilege that many people and many businesses don't have in San Francisco. But when it comes for the governor, police officers are responding, are investigating yet another robbery that has happened to the business of the governor. And this is following all along trends that we're seeing in major cities that keep escalating to grave proportions, where it's even U.S. senators being victims of this crime, as California U.S. Senator Barbara Boxer was assaulted and robbed recently. As former California Senator Barbara Boxer was assaulted and robbed recently as she was walking around in a ritzy area of Oakland, California. A pretty significant story that, very interestingly, MSNBC, ABC, NBC completely forgot to even talk about. But as crime keeps skyrocketing in California, hey, at least the government there is making sure that you can't buy powerful gaming PCs. Yes, California has outlawed the sale of any electric item that generates 70 kilowatts a year. Some items are restricted to 50 kilowatts a year. And now this, of course, includes many high-end computers, which, if you live in California, you cannot legally own. Yep, Alienware desktops are now banned and illegal in California for, your safety and protection, which is absolutely freaking hilarious with the backdrop of all the events that have been unfolding specifically in California. And it's not just major urban areas becoming more violent, it's also this administration that has announced that it has no plan to pull out troops out of Syria, and that it will continue bombing campaigns in Afghanistan, while, of course, saber-rattling against Russia. Recently, with Joe Biden personally saying that the latest cyber attacks could, quote, lead to a real shooting war, which highlights how just more and more aggressive the state is becoming, while also becoming more demanding of its citizenry. We're going to talk about this in just a little bit, but before we do, we wanted to let you know that because this channel is fully demonetized, we are sponsored by you, human beings who decide to spread the message out there by simply wearing a t-shirt. Yes, we just launched a new one, this one that you're watching right in front of your eyes, highlighting how there is absolutely a war for your mind that has significant worldly ramifications. I also just got this shirt in that says Breaking the Conditioning. I already got a bunch of compliments on it. If you're looking for a way to meet new people, to get some thumbs up as you're walking by, to have some interesting conversations, well, definitely you should check out thebestpoliticalshirts.com, as of course this also helps spread the message and allows people to understand that they are not alone in the larger psyopses and trauma-based mind control that is being played on almost everyone else. Thebestpoliticalshirts.com is where to go. The link is down in the description. And also, don't forget to check out lukeuncensored.com. We had a very good video yesterday. We're going to have another one for you today, highlighting a lot of issues that, again, we can't talk about here. They're pretty spicy, but absolutely imperative to understand. All of that, lukeuncensored.com later on today. Now, the overly irrational and aggressive wards by the clown of New York City, the mayor of New York City, highlight a big transition that has been happening socially here in the United States. A transition that is not backed by science, not backed by trust, not backed by proper communication, but backed by absolute thugs saying that they have dominion and control of not only your existence, but your physical body and what they want you to do with it. And we have to recognize here that this is a huge change from the previous talking points that we have heard from some of these same politicians that said that this would never happen. Again, a lot of promises were made by politicians that said from the very beginning, it's only going to be 2 weeks. It's all going to change if you just wear a mask. It's all going to change if you social distance. It's all going to change if we just shut down your businesses while allowing billionaires to be open. Now it's all going to change if you take this procedure. And now we're going to be forcing this procedure on millions of people, as of course, not only New York City is making these gross demands of its employees, New York State and the federal government are soon announcing that they will require all employees of the government to take this procedure. Now, there's a lot of problems with this, but this is a huge major bombshell, which again, and we also have to remember that Joe Biden promised that this would never happen. And here we are today as he's going to make an announcement this Thursday, according to many sources, making it mandatory for millions of people. And just so you understand here, the federal government is one of the largest employers in the world in the United States. It employs over 3 million people that will, no matter what the excuse, no matter what the consequences, be forced to take an invasive procedure that they can't go back from, that big government and the companies providing this procedure face no liability from. So the federal government, that's over 3 million individuals that we know of. That's not even including all the FBI secret agents. And man, who knows how many of those they have. But we also have to recognize that the state of California and New York are also mandating this procedure for their employees. And the state of California employs over 250,000 individuals. The state of New York employs over 131,000 individuals. And now, nearly 3.3 to 3.4 million individuals have lost the ability to make the decision for what is right for their bodies. And now they have to make the hard determination if they will continue to be able to work, to pay for their families, to put food on the table, or to give the government dominion over their physical body. And again, this has huge implications here because there are some people, according to the medical professionals, again, I am not a medical professional, but looking at some of the medical professionals' own admissions here, even from the CDC's own websites, they say people with severe allergies and severe allergic reactions to these types of procedures should not take them. There's also a wide medical body of individuals saying if people have natural immunity, they absolutely should not take this procedure because it is, 1, pointless, 2, leads to complications, and 3, God forbid, if there are complications, if there are problems, the people that will be footed with potential problems will have all the liability, while the government, the big pharma corporations with a criminal past, have no liability at all. And to have this mandate is absolutely backwards. It's unscientific. And in my opinion, it's a major step in the wrong direction, which will lead to some very serious pain and suffering to individuals who just want to be left alone, especially all those individuals who now will have to make a very hard decision that they're being bullied into taking, rather than, of course, having an informed consent, rational, real conversation about the issue. What we had was low-level, low-IQ extortion efforts that have now become mandatory, that a centralized power wants you to do. Again, it's not just the United States, it's also Canada and Kuwait that also just announced that they are banning people who haven't taken this procedure from even entering their country, as well as Google that also just introduced mandates that will be happening in the private sector with all of their employees, as one of the largest corporations in the world, some would argue the history of the world, comparatively to the East Indian Trading Company. I digress, but Google just also announced that they are going to require all of their employees to take this procedure as well. All of this, as we have to remember, the establishment promised that it would never come to this. And here we are today. And we have to recognize here, Joe Biden lied. The government officially lied to you and is going back on their word. So why should you trust individuals that lie to you? You shouldn't. And that, of course, is not just the only lie. There's been many lies. There's been many inconsistencies. There's been a lot of flip-flopping. There's been a lot of contradictory statements that absolutely don't add up. But according to Dr. Fauci, if you criticize him, you criticize all of science. And, of course, he himself says that he never flip-flopped, even though there's videos. We played a video yesterday. If you haven't watched it yet, go to yesterday's video on this YouTube channel, and you could just see him making contradictory statement after another statement after another statement. But according to him, he didn't flip-flop, and now he's trying to get as many children as possible to take this procedure, and of course to also wear masks, which again, a lot of people are asking some very serious questions about, since the CDC just announced yesterday that even if you did take this procedure, you still should wear masks. All children should wear masks. This, of course, as 2 months ago, the White House and the CDC announced that if you have taken this procedure, you do not need to wear a mask anywhere. Literally, 2 months ago, the White House, the CDC, the government said, just do this and we'll make you stop wearing the mask. Now, again, they're going back on their word, and why? The mayor of New York says that you won't even need to take tests if you take this procedure. Joe Biden also announced that if you take this procedure, there's no way you could get sick. And we're finding out that's a lie. They're literally spreading misinformation and lying to you, since, of course, we know that's not the truth. Now people are told, according to the CDC, new guidelines announced yesterday, you're not going to stop wearing a mask. And this is leaving people with some very serious questions about the consistency here, or even what's really going on here. If the procedure works, why do we need the masks? And that's a very important question that the government was asked directly. And Jan Psaki responded essentially by saying, well, because we said so. Yes, there's no science, there's no data presented, there's no evidence, there's nothing. They presented absolutely nothing. And when asked about this directly, the federal government responded with, well, we say so, as her reasoning for this new update by the CDC, while, of course, reassuring everyone that the procedure absolutely works. But again, very serious questions remain here. They never answered them. Also, it's very important to note here, as reported by CBS Sacramento, that some of the highest cases and rates of this sickness are being found in countries with the highest rate of this procedure. This is not me saying this. This is CBS Sacramento. USA Today and NBC News literally wrote an article suggesting that the evidence is highlighting how this procedure may be spreading the sickness. And this is not me saying it. This is literally USA Today and NBC News. All of this as the same media organizations are fear-mongering about new cases, which as you can see here in this chart, slightly have increased, while, of course, they don't talk about the number of deaths that have been continuing to go down. And there is some preliminary data suggesting that a lot of people have natural immunity, with another possibility that this sickness is becoming less lethal and more mild. Again, we're going to be talking about that plus a little bit, as well as obesity, which is the number one contributing factor when it comes to people dying of this. But the mainstream media is literally talking about how people are fat and fit, while, of course, promoting fat acceptance. All the while fear-mongering about cases going up, trying to scare you and invoke an emotional response that doesn't allow you to critically think and have informed consent over the important decisions for your human body. Again, not a medical doctor. All I'm saying here in this video is, hey, look at the evidence, rationally examine it, think about it, share data with your medical professionals that you know, start the conversation, and start having a cohesive, conscious thought process that is not based off criminal liars lying to your face, trying to manipulate you or extort you or force you to do something. Always remember, the only person you could really trust within your own existence, within your own life, is you. Your life is in your hands. You decide where it goes. Make sure you go to a place that you know you're exactly going to. That's my 2 cents. If you appreciated it, share this video with your friends and family members. I have a lot more to say about this. I have a bigger take to make here, but I can't make it here. I'm going to be making it specifically on LukeUncensored.com. I hope to see you there. We're going to be opening it up to make it a forum, to make it a big communication hub. I want to work and build and do some really creative, amazing projects with you guys. I'm going to be doing all of that in the near future. LukeUncensored.com. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.